when I do these videos, I'm mindful not to give away too much of someone else's book. Because this book's mine, I wrote this book, I'm going to start on a chapter that is important to me, and that's going to be children. So that's chapter 3. So chapter 3, children. Everyone experiences a unique childhood, from poverty to wealth, from freedom to suppression. No two people are the same. So we must be mindful that we all process things differently. Children, teenagers, and adults suffer and react angrily against the life endured. Some resort to gang life, often to fill a family bond that never had at home. But it's a dangerously forced facade that never ends well. How many people must continue to suffer? How many lives need to be ruined? All because so many people weren't nurtured, cherished, and adored. Instead, they were made to feel worthless. It's sad to consider how difficult some people's lives have been, and most of us have endured one trauma or another. Unless we take time to heal and transform, we will find our lives wasted pursuing paths we don't belong. On the other side of trauma and despair are freedom and hope. Don't allow the actions of oppressive people to take us away from a better life than they provided. We don't have to, and certainly shouldn't, force our trauma onto our children or loved ones. Instead, we should nurture our youth with love by breaking the toxic cycles of the past. We improve future generations' lives. Throughout history, children have been tightly controlled, with many expected to grow up far too young, thus missing out on the joy of being a child and having their innocence taken away. We must learn from history, especially our bloodlines, and do better than our ancestors. Allow children to be emotional, cry, express their anger and frustration, and experience the rainbow of emotions. If we continually suppress them, force them to hide and be someone they aren't, we need to consider why. People tend to fear vulnerability, so they regard displaying emotions as a weakness. But it takes courage to show how we feel. Whether sad or happy, authenticity should be embraced rather than shamed. The world would be better if everyone were free to be themselves without judgment. We are all original and unique, so we should be free to think and feel for ourselves and express ourselves naturally. Suppression and control don't serve anyone. They never have. Yet many continue to consider screaming and shouting at their children as positive parenting. Respect gains respect. Loving our children, trusting them, and valuing their opinions enables them to feel positive about themselves and embrace who they are, which allows them to grow into balanced adults. We must be honest with ourselves and reflect upon how we interact with children and how we can better navigate situations. Children suffer if we cover up the cracks and don't address how we behave towards them. Our children are here to be cherished, not hated, so take a moment. Consider your childhood and what you wish could have been different. I was overprotective of my daughter in the past, and without realizing it, I controlled her more than I had intended, and indeed, not how I envisioned. Upon reflection, I realized that I needed to give her room to grow and develop independently by giving her space and room to make mistakes. She knows I am here when she needs me, and of course, I'm assertive when necessary. But there is mutual respect between us, where I don't need to shout. She knows there must be a reason for my seriousness, so she doesn't push against me. Likewise, if she has an outburst, something must be bothering her, which she can talk to me about when she chooses rather than me forcing her. We shouldn't expect more of children than we do of ourselves, and they aren't here to care for us. Too many perform tasks that shouldn't be required. As a child, I had to make my parents hot drinks such as tea, which may not be a big deal. However, it bothered me immensely. I don't ask my daughter to look after me. If I want a drink, I make it. She can enjoy herself and live in the moment without me burdening or taking away her youth. Unless we begin to change the mindsets of the current generation, future generations will suffer. We must be open to change, look at ourselves and question whether we do the best we can. Have we made mistakes? We can correct mistakes, but must drop our egos and humble ourselves. Refusing to hurt our pride and ego is hardly worth the price of blindly leading our families into chaos and generational trauma. We damage those around us without realizing, and some never heal. So the pain remains traumatizing throughout life. If we could go back in time, how far would we go? Would we return to the moment we suffered, or would we go deep into history when our ancestors suffered and change what happened? Of course, the reality is that we can't go back in time. We need to make peace with anything that's happened, apologize, forgive, heal ourselves, and embrace a new lifestyle focused on love. Chastising ourselves and others won't change the past, but we can learn, heal, and alter the present to instigate the change needed to break generational chains that bind us and become the hope of a new generation. That would be something to be proud of, rather than an inflated ego telling us we are fantastic, when maybe we have been anything but. Not everyone has made substantial mistakes, and not everyone is perfect, but each of us needs to be able to humble ourselves, reflect, and recognize what is right and wrong. How we treat our children from the start determines how they behave and feel. When we lose control early, an uphill battle ensues when we try to regain control of situations, furthering the divide between parent and child. So screaming and shouting becomes standard. When any relationship resorts to screaming and shouting, it's evident that respect doesn't exist, and an ending of separation is guaranteed. The difference with children is that we take them for granted, as if they are our possessions as they grow, develop, and mature. After all, they cannot choose where they live when they are young. Admittedly, children are sometimes a handful. They test boundaries, but a relationship thrives with consistency, structure, and fair, respectful rules. We have no right to feel like we own anyone. That's a narcissistic and toxic trait. How can we expect to receive respect if we don't give it? We can change circumstances and mend relationships by alleviating some pressure, reduce the need to control, and set boundaries. Children need structure with coherent rules which are fair and manageable to fulfill a real purpose rather than set for the sole reason of dominance. False threats are the shallowest form of discipline, which reveals insecurity and weakness. Children have remarkable perceptions, so upon witnessing these moments, they lose respect. Unlike some adults, they are constantly learning. When children sense weakness and a chink in the armor, it will be exploited and remembered for future reference to ignore punishments. Never say anything with no follow through. There must be action. It's better to say nothing and lose an argument than extend it to the point where we're clutching at straws. Where mutual respect exists, there shouldn't be a need for threats. By definition, a threat is to attack and assert ourselves, but rather than command, we should support. Threatening and scaring people shows a loss of control over ourselves and situations. We need to remain in control of our emotions, be role models by providing choices and options, rather than sticking to rigid expectations. We need to consider what we expect of children and why. When there are fewer rules, there are fewer arguments, more harmony, and everyone has a balanced life. Children sometimes can't do right no matter what they do. So rather than making them anxious and confused, consider what's expected and be flexible with the approach and expectations. No one is perfect, especially children. How can they be when they are still trying to figure out the world around them and the rules that bind their daily lives? Without consistency, what chance do they have? It'd been possible for anyone to follow the rules without an apparent routine or structure. If we desire a future relationship with our children, clearly, by pushing them far enough, they will likely leave and not return. They will move away and won't look back, seeking a better life elsewhere to embrace freedom. We don't want to mess them up and affect their adulthood, burdened by the weight of their past. Making mistakes is part of life. So we shouldn't blind ourselves with pride and refuse to change, harming their development and prospects. Instead, we need to build a positive foundation for their happiness. Humility is an invaluable gift, and more attractive than greed and self-entitlement. Some people demand everything be about them, and they deserve things above someone else. That stems from an inflated ego, overcompensating for insecurities, or recovering through trauma. Either way, we should strive to be better than circumstances and transmute situations with humility rather than spite. Taking something we haven't earned from someone just because we can is hardly the action of an honest person. So while overcoming childhood issues is essential, we need to check ourselves and strive to be better in every moment. There should be an awareness for those who endured traumatic childhoods. It wasn't our fault, but merely the victim of parents or carers who didn't deserve the honour of raising us. They are responsible for their behaviour and actions when they should have protected rather than hurt us. Rather than allowing childhood experiences to define us, use memories as inspiration to help teach others, heal, and overcome. Some people are introverts and most won't have the strength to share their stories. And that's okay. Merely finding the will to carry on and live a better life than the one afforded is progress enough. It's imperative not to take the pain and past suffering and use it against people in the future. Cycles end. Otherwise, situations repeat and innocent people endure similar suffering. New people should be treated with kindness and allowed to show who they are. After all, no two people are the same, regardless of how many people have hurt us in the past. However, if they aren't kind, have integrity, and set boundaries, by moving forward, knowing that the right people will enter our lives at the right time. By being respectful against all odds, we don't push away positive opportunities and the potential for a beautiful life. Ultimately, it's up to us how we live our lives and whether we use experiences to elevate or weigh us down. I witness too much hate in society. So much would be avoidable if only people chose to positively direct their emotions and actions rather than channel them towards greed and anger. Theft and hate crimes shouldn't exist, but they do. While people can only heal through choice, each of us impacts our lives and those around us with the decisions we make every day. By making a positive difference rather than spreading negativity, we begin to heal the planet and in the long term, instigate a fundamental change felt for generations. Let's be that change.